Hello and welcome to Season 10, Episode 11 of The Purple Rain, of course, brought to you by our great sponsors, Sonam Capital, Bloom Real Estate, and DR Travels. Oz, how you going, my friend?
I'm going very well, Duck. I had a great break post-Melbourne, managed to get the fam away. Beautiful wheat belt through to Hyden, check out Wave Rock, Corrigan, etc. Seeding season, Duck. I'm learning my farming terminology, mate.
Yeah, a bit of early rain.
Early rain.
Get the crop in.
We always bring rain wherever we travel, so I think,
get down Tamil then, bud.
mate, I think we're welcome there. Like literally every place we went to rained, so I think the farmers would have been happy with our trial. But how about you, mate? How you tracking?
Yeah, good, mate. Had a really good weekend. One of my really great mates, Bill, got married on Saturday, so classic. Did the old, was part of the bridal party and then also emceed. So really, really good, man. Had a great wedding at Guildhall. Fantastic food, fantastic drinks, fantastic tunes, and more important than anything, mate, fantastic people. So, you know, really, really brilliant wedding and just one of those ones where it was just had a really great time. So, really enjoyed it. And then Sunday just kind of chilled out and back into the fire today, back into work. So,
How much of a snack is it?
All right, Oz, I'm going to go on a rant early. Two things. One, Easter in the middle of school holidays, and I know this is weird, but Easter in the middle of school holidays sucks because it kills the school holiday.
Yes, it does.
Two, Easter eggs, I'm putting a caveat. I'm saying not a caveat. I'm putting a ban on it. I think every person should only get one Easter egg. That's it. No more.
I heard you speak about this last week, and I'm like, oh, the young father. Dark, when you have when you get to 3 kids, mate, I'll tell you what. When you get to 3 kids as a dad, what you do is you plan it strategically. Easter Bunny visits all 3.
Yep.
Okay, especially if you've got a huge gap and the young ones living the dream still in La La Land. So what you do is you start taxing as a dad. So I start taxing because then you don't worry about buying anything for yourself. The Easter Bunny delivers for the kids, and then you tax as a father.
Yeah.
That's economics 101, baby.
Mate, I'm just like, I think there should be an overall ban on Easter eggs. Like, you get one. Everyone gets one.
Yep.
And that's it. Call me the Easter Grinch.
Yes.
Ban it from the middle of school holidays and ban it from one each. All right, Oz, let's get into it because we had a little Easter treat of our own, a little ANZAC treat actually in the Lenhall match. And of course, it's good, the bad, and the Dockery is brought to you by DR Travels. For your travel needs, make sure you get in contact with Daniel on 0474 064 629 or daniel.rees@globaltravelnetwork.com.au. Look, some really great spots that you can travel in regards to ANZAC celebration or ANZAC ceremonies. I keep saying ANZAC celebration. It's not a celebration. ANZAC ceremony.
Yep.
I think I've been to the Melbourne one. Fantastic. I've been to the Albany one. So if you want to fly down to Albany, travel down to Albany, that is one of the great ANZAC ceremonies. And of course, I think the pinnacle is the Gallipoli ceremony. So you're thinking about that in the future, something like that, or
Can you
maybe
talk to us
France?
a little bit about that? I know where this
Albany
is a footy.
or
No.
Gallipoli?
I've been to an Albany one, but the Gallipoli.
I've never been to it, but
sorry. I
I
okay.
assume it's the pinnacle.
Gotcha.
Like, you know, so I think that's something. And if you're interested in it, make sure you get in contact with the doc.
Yes.
Or Daniel over at DR Travels. But I was just into the game. Obviously, the Fremantle Dockers 12-13-85 defeated the Adelaide Crows 9-13-67 by 18 points. The good, mate, what a difference a week makes. Oh. What a difference a week makes. And look, I think, Oz, it's interesting because the more I think about the Melbourne game and the more I've looked at what else happened, and I think I had a really, really bit of an epiphany on the way to the game on Friday night, and it was induced by Mick Malthouse. A very undockery kind of a very anti-docker kind of bloke, a very very dockery moment for myself, I guess. And he was like, look, after the gather round, I think people didn't realise, you know, out at the Barossa in particular, very, very hot conditions, very sapping conditions. Gold Coast, GWS and the Dockers all double travelled and performed relatively poorly. Gold Coast lost to Richmond. GWS probably played their worst game in a couple of years and lost to Adelaide, and the Dockers lost to Melbourne. Essendon also nearly lost to a historically bad Eagles, so double travel there. So all the teams that had that double travel, Collingwood won, which was a surprise, but I think they obviously had the game under lights at the start of gather round in Adelaide. So not too much of an issue there, but everyone else kind of had these weird games with the double travel and stuff like that. So I think it's something to take into perspective given I think Melbourne probably played the best that they could, led by Max Gawn. We played pretty terrible. We lost by 10 points.
Yes.
So a little bit of never as good, never as bad kind of
We do preach that.
situation there.
We do preach that, Doug.
Although we were down in the dumps last week.
I was.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Big time.
Get rid of everyone. But look, just into some good for this week. I think, obviously, Brayshaw and Sarong, you can't go past these two guys. Top 2 in the coaches' votes, top 2 in the Arthur Leggett votes. Together, they got 69 disposals, 16 clearances, 17 intercept possessions. 10 intercept possessions, 17 score involvements, 10 score launches, 24 ground ball gets. And look, I think it was the yin and yang, the Brayshaw gut running and the Sarong clean hands and ground balls and clearances that were the thing that kind of makes these guys, even though sometimes you look at them and go, are they similar? Nah, they had 2 different bases and they work so well together. Considering the Dockers got 45 points from intercepts and 33 points from clearances, it was those 2 guys in particular that really, really drove that. And like we talk about, Oz, we know when these guys get above 60 possessions, we generally win games. So it comes from your midfield, and we can talk about whoever, but, like big old Jordan Dawson from the Crows, last quarter didn't touch it, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Matty Crouch is getting subbed out. Where's he at? So our midfield got on top. It dominated, and it was on the back of those 2 guys and how hard they work. Sean Darcy even hit outs to advantage, really good. I think he had 14 hit outs to advantage, which is really, really great stuff from him, and he led the way. I think, let's be honest, Max Gawn, they're talking about him as like one of the greatest ever now. Like, he just absolutely pantsed Sean Darcy last week. And I think if you've got the opportunity, go and watch Jeff White. I think I retweeted it. Jeff White, he did a YouTube video and broke down why Darcy was losing those centre clearances. And actually, the Dockers were setting up defensively, but Gawn was just running through Darcy, just beelining the ball, getting the ball to the Melbourne players, and they were able to get those clearances out the front. But on the flip side, Darcy's able to get his hands on it. Rory, what the hell is this guy named? Riley O'Brien, their ruckman.
Rory?
I know Rory O'Brien's from the Dockers, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's the old Docker. I don't know.
I don't know.
Whoever the O'Brien is,
Yeah.
Brian O'Brien. It's Riley O'Brien.
Not
Riley
even
O'Brien,
close.
I think, similar size to Darcy in terms of the big lumbering, can't jump into him. I think Darcy sometimes has trouble. And look, everyone's going to have trouble against Max Gawn because he's such a champion, but I thought Darcy was really solid. I thought Jordan Clark's run and dash off the half black, and that's something that you really pointed out to me.
Yeah, look, absolutely. When Jordan Clark is up and about and when he's running off half back, that's when we look our best. And then if we provide support in that context, and Wags, who often played on the wing as well, let's be fair there, but also provided run and dash off the back line, which meant that Clarkey wasn't the only one who they needed to pay attention to. And all of a sudden, we've got double avenues of moving the ball, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
If I could just go back quickly, Duck, and talk about Andy Brayshaw, it was pretty obvious early on that he was going to be essentially on one. He was just a man possessed, and you quickly forget. Within the family, he's got ties to a military background through his brother, I believe. It's his older brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And what that means to a player, and then sometimes you can find that intrinsic plus extrinsic motivation. And that's all it takes for that extra 1% to be found. And then you look at that and multiply that across the board, Duck. And I thought, as you're saying, you're talking about all of these players who stepped up, I think, at least 5%, if not more, across the board. And it has to be said, and, I certainly was a little critical last week of the perceived lack of reaction to, getting beaten out of the middle and what are our moves and why didn't we play, Dudley and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was pretty clear from early on in the week, Duck, that JL was not going to be taking sort of softer efforts lightly. Yeah. And if they weren't going to stick to what is clearly the brand in defensive pressure, and I'd like to bring in a little bit of basketball about that. I know that's a thing,
but
that's cool. But it was pretty evident early on that was going to be the way in which we played come hell or high water. And if you weren't going to stick to that, then obviously you weren't going to play. And, clearly that's the issue. My parallel to, bringing in my beloved basketball and talking about that is as a coach, I've always put the emphasis on defense first. Even though I love playing attacking and offensive basketball, it always comes from a defensive mindset and being aggressive, not just defensive, but being aggressive defensively. And I've always had either a press or I've had something that creates confusion and to try and create this notion of a where we've got our backs against the wall. What do we do? And then all of a sudden we control the decision making through chaotic pressure, if you will.
Yeah.
I thought what I saw from Fremantle, and this ties into some stats which you kindly dug up for me today because I didn't have a chance to do some research. But Duck, if we can have that type of defensive effort and we can hold teams to under 70 points, we are almost unstoppable. And I say that by looking at since J-Lo has been coaching and excluding the COVID time, or we'll throw that in there as well. Okay, yeah, so if we include the COVID time as well, if we keep opposition teams to under 70 points, we're now 39, 1, and 12. 39, 1, and 12. So that is a blueprint. And we talked about that on the pod. I said that's got to be the blueprint, these 1%ers. But I think JL's now got that brand that he talks about. And I was confused, tell us what this brand, you talk about being defensive, not being defensive, sorry, but being more defensive minded and being aggressive and valuing what is really our blue collar defensive efforts. If we are able to do that consistently, then as we saw, it springboards into offensive movements. Go.
That's it. Look, I think you're spot on there. Like when we think about, I think we were 43 and 4 or something now when we score over 80, but then you throw in that, the 39, 1 and 12 when it's under 70. So it's like 80 to 70. That's all we need.
That's all we need, baby.
That's all we need. We're winning majority of matches. So, look, I think that's really, really important. I think the addition of Wagner into the side, Wagner, not Warner, Wagner into the side was a really, really interesting move that I actually liked. Up to the wing, can be more defensive as well, sometimes in the guts as well, which is really, really good. The idea of playing Shea more in the guts was good as well. So, it's just one of those things, where I think we've got all these different levers that we can pull. I thought Switkowski played a much better game. Pressure acts right up, tackling right up. Omac played his best game so far for the club. Obviously, he's only played 3, but to kick 2 goals and to have 3 goal assists when he's literally had 3 goal assists in his whole career. Now, we know he's predominantly a backman, but his ability to swap and see and understand after interviewing him, hey, look, am I going to get a role as a key defender? I need a fair few blokes to go down. I kind of think he's the next one in as the key defender, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe he thinks Davies has gone past him. He had a great game for Peel on the weekend. Or am I more suited to if a ruckman goes down? Given Darcy and Jackson haven't played a lot together, he's probably more banking on Darcy not playing that much compared to Jackson. Jackson only really had 1 injury, touch wood, so far in his career at the Dockers. So, it was really good foresight by him to play that, how important that ruck/forward role is. Look, and I thought I was more than anything, the thing that really got me up and about was the red time goals. We kicked 2 in the first quarter and 2 in the third quarter. Yeah. And that just broke the Crows. And the third quarter ones, like if Tracy kicked that third goal, it would have been a 15-goal win because that broke them. Like you could tell that third quarter, they worked really hard and they could not convert. And we just went bang, bang. 2 goals right at the end. And then we nearly kicked a third. And even in that first quarter, like we dominated early. They got back on top and it was like, okay, it's 4 goals to 2. They're still within striking distance. We went bang, bang. 2 more goals.
Yeah.
And it really just gapped them, which was really awesome.
I want to ask you this question, Doug, and that is, especially the commentators talk about, taking your chances when they come to you and so forth. But I think a lot can be said about when you're running your guts out because you're being hemmed in, and essentially whether you're straight line running or whether you're chaotic running or whatever it is to try and get open in order to move the ball. If you're constantly under pressure in that sense, but then you finally get an opportunity to score, there has to be a toll physically on being so hemmed in and being so forced, if you will, to constantly, get the ball back and kick it and get the ball back and kick it. And then you finally get the opportunity to score. There has to be some toll on you kicking for goal, which helps explain the inaccuracy of Adelaide.
Yeah, and I think, look, where they were taking shots as well, I think Nankervis missed 2 pretty easy shots. He's the only one that you can really go, man, that was stinkers. But, Rochelli's having shots from the pocket. Thriller's having shots from the pocket with his broken finger. So guys aren't having shots from directly in front. You're pushing them wide. You're sending them wide. You're not allowing them to use that corridor and use those easier shots. So very important there. Oz, I think as well, just in terms of the good before we get into the Bloom Real Estate Macho Man of the Week, I think 2 things. J-Lo's midweek spray and the media stuff that the Dockers put up about the, just go at it, I think was the term with a little bit of an F-bomb in there.
Yes.
I think it was just get after it.
Just get after it.
So that's a really good mantra that I think we need to live by. Just get after it. And of course, J-Lo, very not relaxed character. I think he's just a very reserved character. So for him to get out, I think he's hearing that external noise. I think there's a little bit of internal pressure as well, especially after that Melbourne defeat, that he was like, no, I'm not going to go down with these blokes if they're not going to work their guts out. Like, I'm not going to go down and lose my job because a bunch of guys aren't willing to work hard, and I'm just going to sit back and let them do it. So love seeing that on the front foot from J-Lo. And also, I think the last good from me before we get into it is just the Len Hall match. And that, look, great feedback. You saw Jared Waitley on Saturday talk about how great it is, and there's a little bit of a gap between the ANZAC Day match and the Len Hall match, which is fantastic. I think the Arthur Leggett best on ground. The stuff that the Dockers do pre-game is just getting better and better and better. And I just think it's such a wonderful thing that we can do as a club, that we should be. And I heard the president actually came out and said, look, well, this is something we're going to take to the AFL and we want to do. And I think it's something that, look, it's an interesting one, because Duff brought it up today on his show. Do you think, Oz, it should be a rotating cast of who we play against? Or should we actually this be the game we play against Adelaide every year? Or should it be like, I think we had a couple of games in the Len Hall match versus the Western Bulldogs that we played.
Yes.
Should it be a lesser known Melbourne side, so then you're getting more of the crowd anyway because it's such an event? What would be your thoughts on this?
I think we would get a crowd irrespective of who it is.
Yeah.
Particularly out of respect for the occasion. And Western Australians do it well because, again, if we being nerding out on, historically speaking, we are HAS teachers.
Yeah.
So if you talk about, particularly you talk about where the light horse come from and all that sort of stuff and the launching from Albany, etc., like it's a very proud ANZAC tradition and through our armed forces in Western Australia. So clearly we're going to represent. But I like the idea of giving opportunity to teams other than.
Yeah.
Like, why? I know that sounds counterintuitive in a way. Like, why wouldn't you not want to play, for example, your Collingwood or your Carlton or whatever? But I think we showed that playing against Adelaide, they brought it. Any team that plays on Anzac Day will want to bring it.
Yeah.
We know that North have their own thing going on, so leave them. And I would like to see possibly something like an Adelaide or a Port Adelaide or something like that.
Maybe even I feel like us and Adelaide are going to be on a similar coaster.
Yep.
Like, they're slowly building. We've been up and down a little bit, but you want to have a team that's on that similar trajectory because they'll rise up together, fall down together. So I even thought a St Kilda.
Yeah.
Like, St Kilda could be interesting.
Imagine
obviously,
Ross the boss.
Yeah, well, obviously, you knock out Adelaide and Richmond, you knock out Collingwood and Essendon. But, to think that this is the second highest attended game that wasn't a derby at Optus for the Dockers, the only one that was bigger was at
Collingwood,
against Collingwood. So, we'll get the crowd to back it up. The TV, probably the ratings are going to be great. So there's all these ticks and the Dockers want to do it. So I think it is just find an opponent and stay with that opponent. And whether or not it is Adelaide or West, I feel like Western Bulldogs, man. I feel like we always play against Western Bulldogs in Len Hall games. And I think we always have good games against them as well. But like you said, I think anyone's going to rise to the occasion during that time. Just something to think about there. And I think overall, we've got to be really proud of the club and how they go about it on Anzac Day. And if we can be a group that that we get that opportunity, that would be, I think, very, very special. But speaking of special, Oz, shall we get into your Macho Man of the Week? This week's Macho Man, of course, is brought to you by Bloom Real Estate. Buying or selling? Why not give Fraser a call on 0439 092 248 or Fraser at bloomwa.com.au. Oz, your Macho Man for this week?
Dark, there's a guy that was playing particularly well up to this point for the Adelaide Crows, and his name was Ben Keys, and already on 12 goals up to the Fremantle game, and has, similarly to who I think Clark represents for Freo, is a barometer for the Adelaide Crows. And this guy, who a couple of weeks ago were thinking, oh, come on, like, he's made a couple of mistakes. What's going on, mate?
Yeah.
And you raised that point. Carl Warner had an absolute blinder, so much so that he's taken a leaf out of Andy Brayshaw's book and probably punched himself in the eye to make it bleed so he can get that Crimean War look going on. But yeah, I get the 17 disposals and the 8 kicks and the 9 handballs and the 4 marks. And it looks all pretty with the 300 metres gained essentially. But it was the nullifying job that he did on, I think, the most influential player for Adelaide in terms of how Ben Keys can quickly turn a game. He's that good. And I thought that it wasn't just a nullifying role. He was also involved in scoring chains and whatnot. And I thought just the general vibe of his game, for a lack of a better term, I thought was fantastic. And to actually hear him talk about the confidence now that he has in playing at this level on a consistent basis is heartwarming, because whenever someone comes in, you either really want them to do well and they don't, and then you're like, oh, or you're negative from the get-go. And I think what he's done is fight through both, and he's now got hopefully he's got consistency, and he's, let's just get rid of those cat 10s, which he did earlier on. And I think we might have found something here. Now, if you go way back to the start of the season, and Alex Pearce was asked the question amongst other people, who's the person to look out for? Who do you think is going to rise out of obscurity, if you will? And he said Carl Warner.
Oh, look out.
So AP knows what he's talking about.
All right, just into some battles. Obviously, the fourth quarter, any chance we can get a good belting in and we don't have to worry about it. But 0 goals 5 to 4 goals 5. And look, a couple of real interesting misses. Look, I put this in bad, but it's probably more in Dockery. The ups and downs of Matthew Johnson. Like, it's equal top disposals for him. He turns it over 7 times, but in the same breath, he gets 3 free kicks against. He gets 4 coaches' votes, but he actually got 4 coaches' votes. But the way the coaches' votes set out, he got 4 from one coach and 0 from another. Tim Gossage put him in the votes, but no one else did for the Arthur Leggett medal. And it's just one of those things where I think it's pretty Dockery, and I know this is a bit of a joke, but I just feel like, and I know people go back and forth on sacking JL, but I think if JL gave him 4 votes and you're agreeing with Tim Gossage, you just sack him immediately. Is that not a thing? Like, if you're agreeing with Gossage, most Dockers fans would be like, all right, you got to go, brother. Like, you got to get out of here. But look, it's so hard with Johnson because he does get the ball, but he butchers it at times. He's got that, like we talked about last week, this overconfidence in his own ability. And it's interesting because it's, all right, is he going to be like this for the remainder of his career? Or will he be able to cut out these mistakes with a bit of maturity, with more games? He's nearly played 50 games now. Where do we see that happening with Johnson? And look, Oz, did you think he was in our best 2? Was he our second best player on the field?
Look, Duck, I'm going to shock you.
Yeah. I
actually thought it was an almost game for Johnson. I certainly think it was in terms of his involvement over the 4 quarters. I think it's probably the most consistent in terms of his involvement. I go beyond that and look at his defensive pressure. He actually had a lot more defensive pressure impact type scenarios than what he has done over the past few games that he's played this season. I do think that he does need to get rid of some of the mistakes. But again, he's still growing into that body type, and he's almost breaking most of those tackles. And again, I remember you saying to me before, it's one thing to try and handball your way out, but if you can somehow break a tackle, that creates even more space in order to move the ball. So he's got a lot more strings to his bow than I think we necessarily give him credit for at such a young age. Do I think he can get better? Yeah, I do, mate. I'm not pulling a ceiling on anyone at that age so soon, but I do agree with you that he does need to try and get rid of those, especially the ones that cost you.
Yeah.
You know, but
and you know how important it is intercept possessions.
Yes.
Teams will score on you pretty quickly.
But I think the other thing that I wanted to quickly ask you is that I've noticed personally that his repeat sprints have increased more than jogging at 85 to 90%. I've noticed him sprint more, and he's actually got a bit of toe.
Yeah, and the thing is like if third, fourth year of a preseason now, building that body, he's a bigger boy. You know, like look, we don't wish that, you know, players are bad at the Dockers. I do get frustrated with and they're like the fact that they're simple turnovers. It's not pressure. It's, I've taken a mark, now I've kicked it straight to the opposition. You know, stuff like that. You just like, oh man, and you see the crowd groan, and you're like, oh. And it got to the point on Friday where it was like, I feel like there was parts where he was earning touches, but there was a lot of times where I feel like the Crows were like, mate, let this guy go. He's just going to give it back to us anyway. So I think that was a little bit into it. But look, like you said, the defensive stuff, 22 pressure acts. That was the second highest for the Dockers, and 7 tackles, which I think was the highest for the Dockers as well. That kind of stuff is awesome because that's mate. Effort. I think that's what JL loves, is he loves the effort that he brings. So that was really, really important. But yeah, I don't know whether to put it in good, bad. So I think it's just Dockery.
Yeah.
The introduction of Narkle just in the fourth quarter, I think obviously JL listens to the pod and goes, well, the boys have bagged me out for doing it 10 minutes. I mean, we're up, like once we kicked those 3 goals and we got ahead, I was like, well, just bring Narkle on.
Yeah.
Crowd were keen for some sparkle Narkle.
Mate. How close was he to kicking that goal?
Some other Dockery stuff. Obviously, Bolton just kicked the ball straight into someone's ass. I can't even remember who it was.
Yeah.
But look, Oz, we've got to go back in time and we've got to go into the I don't know what it's called. What's the thing that the postman's box? What does Doctor Who travel in? I don't know what it's called.
The TARDIS.
The TARDIS.
Yeah.
Because we had one of the great Doctor Who games of all time. We're talking 98 minutes on the ground.
Yep.
3 tackles.
Yep.
10 pressure acts. 1 free kick against. Now, Oz, somehow Darcy Tucker, the AKA Doctor Who, has managed to get an inside 50 without getting a disposal. 0 disposals. I'm talking Ducks Donuts across the board for Darcy Tucker.
He headbutt it through?
I don't know. Maybe he tapped it into the 50. Like, does that count as that? Because Dudley got a goal assist for his tap to Murphy, and he didn't touch it.
So that's what it is.
Yeah. So I don't know what he's done there, but Darcy Tucker, we love you. We love the fact that you have managed to play 155 games, and I reckon most people, 1, wouldn't know who you are if you walk down the street, but 2, they'd be like, huh? Him? What? Oh, big Doctor Who. So shout out to the Doctor Who for his ultimate Doctor game. But I kind of also think, Oz, getting 0 disposals isn't an ultimate. Maybe it is, because he's out there for 98 minutes. Were there like
other people involved? Maybe.
No, but were there Kangaroos fans who are watching it and going, oh, Darcy Tucker's out there? Is that what it, like, because that's what it's all about. It's about no mistakes, no issues, just don't touch it either. You know, just don't go anywhere near it. It was very interesting. Anyway, I was on that note. Let's go to a break. When we come back, we've got some Peel Talk and some Sonam Capital listeners' questions. All right, welcome back to Season 10, Episode 11 of The Purple Rain.
Purple
That's a real
rain.
hard chop from you. And then cut it out. No, I'm looking at my phone for something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's all right.
Sorry.
All right, Oz, let's get into some Peel Talk for today. This week's Peel Talk, of course, is brought to you by no one yet, but don't worry about that because Peel Thunder 7-11-53 got on the board with their first win against Swan District 6-12-48. Look, I just want to talk about three guys in particular who got in the best. Liam Reedy, 48 hitouts, 16 disposals, and 8 inside 50s. Now, Oz, holy crap, would you want Liam Reedy giving an inside 50? I would have said no.
Well, he's belting it in there.
Hopefully he's just tapping it in. He's giving it to Darcy Tucker, giving it a tap in. Raz with 30 disposals and 9 tackles, and Davey's also one of the best in the back line holding down that key position. So, again, guys, look, I don't think the team changes a great deal. Obviously, Oz, do you think, in regards to Dogger Jackson,
yep,
are you swapping in for Omac or are you resting Darcy?
Okay. I thought about this one, and it's, by the way, this is not because I don't rate Darcy or think he didn't play a good game. In fact, I thought he played an awesome game. But there are some considerations. He has had a number of games off short turnarounds. He's only just coming back from significant injury, and playing on a hard deck is probably not going to help his injury as well.
Marvel.
Yes, correct. So I would say, I know it sounds stupid, but I would, if I was going to rest someone, I thought Omac was good.
Yeah.
And I think Dogger could come back in and play that ruck role and then see how that goes for the following week. But yeah, I think I'm more concerned about Darcy long term because he needs to be there where the whips are cracking. And we had a couple of 6-day breaks or whatever it was, and I don't know. I'm looking out for him. Yeah. But that's probably the only change I'm making because I thought the team deserved to be what it was. And maybe if anything, maybe Sharpie switch out Narkle and Sharpie. Maybe. Yeah, I thought Sharpie had a great game in terms of his running. So I think Narkle maybe even, I don't know, give Duds clearly can't play a full game. No. I think that's a clear But we've talked about the importance of
the subbing in versus subbing out. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one, isn't it? So
now, on that, Doug,
yes, Oz.
Did you see the bake of all bakes from one Mr. Roscoe Lyon? And then the sub, which we talked about last week. Look, if you're going to pull a trigger, don't be reactive, be intuitive. And he's just going, nah. And he's pulled the trigger and he's off in the second quarter. And then someone had the temerity to ask him in the press conference, what was that about? And then he's like, what do you think it was about? Yeah. It was like classic Ross.
What have you done?
What have you done? Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah, look, it was, I actually, because Juddy sent it to me, I ended up watching the Ross presser and I was like, oh boy, this is an absolute classic. And like, you just miss it, man. You honestly do miss it. So look, it's a little bit of a tough one given that they'll have Rowan Marshall. So he's a really good ruckman. Are you concerned at all about Jackson coming back from the hamstring?
Yes. So that's the other thing.
Like, do you then just make him a forward / do we have the luxury where we can? Does Jackson come back through the twos or is he too good?
No, he's too good.
Do you see a situation where maybe Jackson and Omac and Darcy will play and Jackson's played as a midfield? Or is that too freaky?
Nah, it's probably too freaky deaky.
All right.
Yep.
All right, I was on that note. Let's go to our So-Named Capital listeners' questions. This week's listeners' questions, of course, are brought to you by So-Named Capital. As always, Dockers fans ready to score big on your finances? Look no further than So-Named Capital as your trusted financial brokers. We specialise in home loans, business loans, construction and property loans, equipment loans, and even foreign exchange. We'll help you tackle your financial goals and set up for your victory on and off the field. Don't miss out. Visit sonamcapital.com or call Nick on 0409 626 561 and let's start building your financial future together. Oz, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, this is from Timmy Barnes. Is Andy Brayshaw underrated by the Eastern States media? We all know how good he is.
Look, I think he gets his flowers. I think he does get his flowers. He's not underrated. I think he's definitely not overrated. He would be talked about a lot more if he was in the on the East Coast. But yeah, look, again, he continues to prove why he is one of the premier midfielders in the competition.
I think he's leading the Doig right now, and I think he's also up there in the Brownlow votes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
This from Jay Winters. Can you tell Luke Ryan to tuck his short string in or tie him up? I'm sick of seeing him flap around every week.
What a question. Yes, this is something. Look, for someone that, has to adhere to uniform standards, hello, Mr. Ryan. Get around it. Come on, you're part of a team.
Maybe someone should dack him.
Cut those sideburns, Manningly. Unbelievable. This is from Matthew Rickwood. Should bringing Jai Amos up the field earlier to get his hands on the ball be part of our plan going forward? Got a few early touches on the wing, half forward, and just seemed to be so much more confident throughout the game.
Yeah, I think Jai had a little bit of, it helped his confidence throughout the game. Again, he's one of those guys who doesn't need a lot of it to impact the game. 6 disposals again, 2 goals. But just getting up that ground, getting your early touch, because if you are one of those players who is low touch, high impact, to just get an early touch, get your feel on it, that's what it's all about. Love that. Oh, there's this one from Shibley Flea. Have we got the fixture gift from God? And I haven't realised this, but if you look at our break, our advantage in days break from each opponent over the next couple of weeks, here we go. So St Kilda,
yes,
they have a 6-day break. We have a 7-day break.
Yes. And
their previous opponent is Brisbane, so they've come off a tough game.
Good.
Collingwood, they have a 5-day break. We have a 6-day break, and their previous opponent was Geelong. So again, another tough game. Then when we played GWS, they're off a 6-day break, and we're off a 9-day break, and they've played Geelong previously as well. Port Adelaide, 7 versus 7, but their previous opponent will be Geelong as well. Gold Coast, 6-day break. Dockers, 7-day break, their previous opponent being St Kilda. North Melbourne, 6-day break. Dockers, 14-day break versus the West Coast Eagles is who the last team they would have played against. And Essendon, 5-day break versus 5-day break. So a couple of little interesting ones there, Oz, in regards to the breakage in the games.
Yes, that's actually a really good point, and I'm glad someone's done the research on that one. I do feel sometimes the rub of the green, when it comes your way, you have to take full advantage of that. Now, we almost took full advantage of a situation which was out of our control. So 2 away games, it would have been nice to come away with 2 wins. It would have been nice to beat up on Sydney early on before they started getting, their side back together with all of their outs. So, I just go back to this. That brand of football that we saw on Friday night, Friday, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Friday.
Yeah, Friday night.
Is going to match it with the best in the competition, hands down.
Yep.
But can you play it on a consistent basis? So you notice how I haven't been talking about booking the Horizons West bus because until I see we can back it up, I'm just going to play it. Yep. Great win.
Mate, by the way,
all right. Okay. Next one. This is from Brady Joel. Who would you rather to bring in at mid-season draft, Modra or McFarlane?
Ooh. I've thought about this. So Modra would maybe replace Miss, and McFarlane would replace Cox or Draper. God. In their prime, even for the Dockers, geez, Modra would be good up forward.
Ugh.
But McFarlane would be good down back. I've got another one to throw in for you, Oz.
Yeah.
What about Mundy in the middle?
Oh.
If you could draft any of those three.
Right now? Yes.
Mundy
right
would
now?
be a trait.
Yeah.
I think
Big
I'm going
mid.
Modra versus McFarlane. I'm going McFarlane just because I love McFarlane.
Yeah, McFarlane was so good.
All right, Oz, this one for
So
you.
good.
Is Johnson becoming the Matt Tabernar midfielder? All the tools and athleticism, but seem to have zero footy brain.
It's a bit harsh on the young fella. I still think he's a good player. I don't care what anyone says. I was the guy that was, I think I said that if we don't draft him, I'd microwave my membership.
Nice.
He's going to be great for the club. He is. You can see it already. He just has to tidy
just
it up.
another side question,
Yes.
and I had this chat with my mates. Do you think Matt Johnson ever makes an All-Australian squad? Not the side, the squad.
Yeah, I think he can.
See,
I think he can.
I don't see it.
Mate, how old is he?
He's 22.
Yeah, he's 22. You can't write him off at 22.
No, I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying his maximum will be not an AFL squad
Would you have
player.
said the same thing with Luke Davies-Uniacke?
Luke Davies-Uniacke.
Because early on he was ghastly. Ghastly.
Yeah, and I don't think he's that good at the
No,
moment.
he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good. Yes. My answer to that is
there you go, Oz.
yes.
I don't think he makes a squad.
Okay. Let's put a carton on that.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, let's do.
I'll do
Come on,
that.
Maddie,
Easy
help
to-
me out there, mate. This is from Maddie Reynolds. It seems that every week the conversation about umpiring gets louder and louder. Is the AFL dropping the ball by not investing more into umpiring, e.g., money, training, making it a full-time profession, or do we need to catch up technology-wise?
It's interesting because I've heard people talk about the full-time profession stuff is actually hard because they don't feel like they've got enough, like it's too, like you got to train a couple of nights a week or a couple of days a week. If it's during the day, you can only train for so long on their fitness and you can watch in your review for so long. So it's like a 14-hour-a-week job. So it can't
I've got
be,
an answer to this.
Yeah, it can't be full-time, I don't think.
I've thought
What do you
about
reckon?
this, mate. Yeah, 100% you make it full-time, but what you do is you turn the other hours in the day into a servicing the AFL situation. So they go out and spread the word of the AFL. So they go out and visit schools. They run clinics. They try and get out. No, listen to me, mate. They go out there and they try. They just hear me out, mate.
If an AFL umpire came to the school, I would boo them. I'd be like, "Get out of here, you green maggot!
See that, mate. That is the
Get
problem.
this guy out of here!"
You see, what we need is we need more respect around umpires, and therefore you get umpires out. What is it like to umpire an AFL game? Like, get him out there talking to the general population. This is what it's like when you have 80,000 rabid fans screaming for
And
your
do you think
blood.
this is going to get more umpires into the game? You're not really
No, you're making it full time.
full time.
And then what happens is when you talk about the possibilities that come out of a full time job, then that's when you start getting the people coming in.
All right, Dominic Italiano's asked this one.
Oh, I
With
thought-
the out of contract players, no, it is my question because you asked the one about umpires. Who will still be there in 2026? All right, quick fire, Oz. Who's going to be there next year? Ridley. The Riddle.
Yes.
Sorry, the Riddler.
Yes.
Dudley.
Yes.
Deleen.
Don't know. I haven't seen him, so probably not.
Aish.
No.
Sharp.
Yes.
Warner.
Yeah. Oh, which you mean New Warner?
Yeah, the Carl Warner. No,
Oh, Carl Warner. Yes.
Reedy.
No.
No, Reedy.
No, I reckon he'll go
Walters.
in 26.
Yeah, next year.
Oh, actually, so can I take that Ready one back? Sorry, I was thinking 2 years ahead. Ready, yes, sorry. Walters, yes.
You reckon they're giving him another year?
Well, he hasn't played a lot this year, so
Fife.
no.
Odin Jones.
No.
Omac.
Yes.
Sparkle Narkle.
Yes.
And the last one, Raz.
No. I think he will find opportunity elsewhere. Because he's got no chance of playing.
Yeah, man. They're bringing in Wagner and putting him in the guards.
Yeah, no chance.
He might as well just go, look, guys, it's all over baby blue.
Yep.
All right, what do you got for us?
All right, this is from Alex Hogan. Interesting question, this one, Duck. What are your most loved and most hated AFL-related nicknames? Personally, love the nickname The Package, terrible bloke, though. And I hate the nickname The Wizard for the Hawks flog. There's only one wizard, and that's the young man from Tampa.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, hate the Wizard nickname. Hate it so much. There's only one Wiz. Like, let's just get that. Let's get that sorted. I really love the nicknames that we come up with. To be honest, the Dick Cyclone, and I don't like the Big Kahuna. I like the Dick Cyclone.
Big Dick Cyclone.
I like the Thriller for Thrillthorpe, the Thriller. But yeah, look, I think there's I don't know, like it's, you know what? It's kind of weird. I don't know if I love Murphy Reed being called Bruce. Like I get it, Bruce Reed.
Yeah, West
Brucey.
Australian.
Yeah, big, you know.
Bring Bruce Reed, snap in half, put him together with tape.
No, he's snapped it.
He's snapped it up again.
Yeah, so not really sure there. All right, this one from Laughing Man 92. In regards to the Freo club song, it tends to be rated highly amongst others, usually ranking in the top 5. So why does it cop so much hate from the Purple Army? I don't know. Is it in the top 5?
I wouldn't have thought it's in the top
Where
5.
would you rank it, Oz? I personally think it's the worst. I think it's the worst.
No, Port Adelaide's is the worst. GWS as well because it's just long.
No, GWS is sick.
No,
It's a big sound from the west
but then
of
that
the town,
part's
it's the
okay, but
sound.
then the rest of it's.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what Gold Coast is, and I don't really want to learn
We
it.
are the sons of the Gold Coast Suns. Their sucks.
Okay.
Their sucks worse than us.
Okay.
All the Melbourne ones are great.
I think it would be a lot better if we sang it in the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that.
Yep.
Love that, Oz.
All right, this one from Matt Pennyduck. Who would win an AFL game? 18 Anthony Albanese's or 18 Peter Duttons?
Mate, I tell you what,
What's the price of eggs?
Yeah, I
Jeez.
watched that last night. That little bit, just that snippet.
Mate, how do you not know that?
How you pulling out $4.20 as well? And like, but
What
then
country is he
Albo, it was
living?
loaded for Albo because he was like, I just got to go Price's Right style, just above you when I win, you know, like. But I got eggs for $11 the other day. It was stitch up there.
Yeah.
I love the and this is just a side note. There is now we know the price point for caged eggs. We know that once eggs get above about $8, the efficacy, I think that's a word, of people caring about chickens goes out the window. I couldn't give two hoots about chooks if they're in cages, if the price of eggs are too high, mate. And I think there's a lot of people that are in that similar kind of boat to me. The question, I think Dutton, because of his height. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, Dutton also looks like, Dutton was a cop, and he looks like a bit of a mad bugger.
Yeah.
Albo, a little bit softer, you know.
Don't know.
And Albo's got that dog
mate,
in him.
he's rolled
Who's
up
got
at
that
midnight.
dog
He's
in
rolled
him?
up at midnight all concerts. He's watched rugby. He's
Midnight Oil, mate.
Hey,
Come on, bud.
no, mate. Hey, do not go there with midnight all, mate.
No, I'm not. I'm just
Be
saying,
there
like,
in the
it's
mosh
not like
pit.
they're
You
attractive.
tell me.
Okay.
You tell me.
Is he moshing in?
Nearly.
Albo.
Hell.
All right.
Shout out, Jace. How you going?
Oh, is this from Tinkstagram?
Yes.
Do you think the addition of a senior assistant with coaching, someone with experience like Simpson Buckley or Horse Longmire, would help J-Lo's coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't necessarily think coaching, but I think in order to share the load, if you look at the resources that were put around Dimmer at the time when Dimmer was deemed to be struggling a little bit with Richmond, and then they surrounded him with support and resources, and look at the dynasty that he was able to put together. I think message is there. I think if we play the way that he was able to get the players up to that standard, that brand, then like I said, we're gonna be right up there. But I think it does help when you have experienced campaigners who have won chips, who know what it's about, to be there and just add things. It doesn't mean you're coaching. It just means you're adding your experience. You just keep adding experience to your corporation. I mean, that's big business, right?
Easy.
All right, mate. This is from Dave from the Cave. When can we start comparing Tracy to Pav in terms of career stats? How does he compare in regards to goals? However, Pav played in the guts and back in the early years, Duck.
Yeah, so I'm not going to compare Pav to Tracy in regards to career stats. I'm going to go Doig medals. So just to give you a bit, or top 10 finishes in the Doig. So just to give you an understanding of actually how far away Tracy is from Pavlich. Pavlich in his first 4 years, all right, at the Dockers went 9th, 4th, 1st, and 2nd in the Doig. Tracy in his first few years didn't finish in the top 10, didn't finish in the top 10, didn't finish in the top 10, and then 4th. So I think that gives you a bit of an understanding. Now, for Tracy to overtake Pav in terms of Doigs, he literally needs to win. So then Pavlich goes third, first, wins 4 in a row, second, third, first, third. Then 3 years, and then 4th. So, like, he literally needs to win the Doig medal for the next 5 years in a row to go close to him, if not 8 years in a row.
We saw the great man in the lift.
Yeah.
Still looks in very good nick.
Looking very good.
Handsome man.
Very handsome.
Look, just be careful there. We're talking about...
Talking about greatness.
He's talking about a demigod there, mate.
Talking about greatness. All right, this one here, Oz.
All right, this one's from Aaron G. What are your memories of Andrew Wills? I remember him being a good player in an average side, but not just sure if he stuck out because he had a bald, shiny head.
Look, Willsy was okay. He was okay, Andrew Wills. And look, the goals that he kicked and the amount of joy he brought to the Dockers fans, I think, is all you can talk about, because he was a he was a solid contributor. I think he had situations where, and I'll just bring up the Doig top 10 because that's what I generally go off. Where have I got that? Doig top 10. I've always got that in my spreadsheet. I think I'm now the holder of the top 10 understandings. Where is he? Come on, Willsy. Willsy finished 4th once in the top 10.
Do you remember that goal that kicked to the whacker?
Soccer goal.
Soccer goal.
So, yeah, Willsy, was he that good or was he just bald?
Pretty cool.
Not bad. All right, this one for you from me. All right, this is a question I've got for you. I want you to rank these footy faux pas in order from worst to not so bad.
Okay.
All right. First one is wearing a jersey to the game without a shirt underneath. Second one, wearing Dockers or any team's clothes to a game which doesn't feed those guys.
Yeah.
Third one, changing teams after puberty. And fourth one,
yep,
is not having a team.
Oh.
You know those vlogs with no team? I don't support anyone.
If you're a visitor, understandable. But if you reside in the country, come on now, you got to have a team.
Yep.
So I think in order of probably changing your team after your nuts drop, that's probably
the worst. Yep.
Then I'd have probably wearing your team when they're not playing.
Yep.
I'd have that too. Then I would have not wearing anything under a jersey. 3. And then if you don't have a team, you might not support footy anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you like footy and you don't have a team, then give yourself an uppercut. But yeah, they're 4 pretty crazy things, aren't they? All right, have you got anything?
Yeah, I got one more for you, mate. This is from Emily Grant Music. Who would win in a game of 2 cloned teams of current day players, one coached by Ross, the new age cuddling coach, and the other by Ross, the boss of 10 to 15 years ago?
Mate, it's really hard, isn't it? Because I think I'm all for the new age, support the player, all that kind of stuff, get around them, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. But I also feel like when it comes to football, when it comes to sport, you need people to be living on the edge of sanity. Like they need to be fearful. They need to live in that fear zone. Like that Rick Charlesworth, you can get dropped at any time. You think you're going well, I'm going to bring you down a notch. If you're not going so well, maybe wrap my arm around you. But that old school, like not all arm wraps, but you got to be able to go to a bloke, oh, you reckon you're going well, do you? And just give it to him, which I don't think, I think we've gone the opposite way. It used to be all give it to him, no arm around. And the best managers were the ones that could get you up and about. Your Brian Clough style, your Alex Ferguson, they could also put an arm around you and make you feel like you can run through a wall. But we went too far the other way where there's not as many bringing people down a notch, getting it. So, yeah, I don't know. Who would win that game for you?
Probably the old age Ross, I reckon.
The one-off game.
A one-off game.
One-off game, yeah.
But you just can't be like that now.
Yeah. All right, guys, on that note, thank you for listening. We are Purple Rain. We're at Purple Rain 95, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. At The Purple Rain on TikTok as well. If you want to send us a Gmail, we're thepurplerain95@gmail.com as well. Make sure you get around us. Make sure you share this episode with some friends. Get around it as well. Share the post if you see it on social media. That helps us a lot. Write a review, subscribe, rate, and review. That would be awesome. Let us know what you thought about the show. And, yeah, have a good day for the rest of it. And hopefully you get a big W on a Friday night. Back-to-back Friday nights. What the hell's going on?
See you later, guys.